away for another Vaughan boundary.
Well, he's a great fieldsman, Philip Tufnell. He often falls over and he's brought it into his batting as well.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Vaughany Tuffers Cricket Club podcast brought to you by the Telegraph. Ben Wright, Michael Vaughan and Phil Tufnell with you as usual. We're getting to the back end of the cricket season now, and today we'll be reviewing the finals of the 100, discussing the freak injury suffered by Jonny Bairstow, and asking whether it might reopen the door for Alex Hales to be included in the T20 World Cup squad. That injury to Bairstow also shakes things up ahead of England's deciding test against South Africa at the Oval. Starting on Thursday, we'll be looking forward to that. And we've invited Sir Andrew Strauss onto the pod to discuss his high-performance review for English cricket and what exactly it entails. Right, morning chaps, how are you?
Morning.
We're recording very bright and early on Sunday morning, which is a bit of a change for us. Why is that? I don't know. It's the time when we all could do it. And the time when our guest this week was able to chat with us. But it means that the 100 finals, which happened last night at Lord's, are fresh in our minds. So we probably should chat about that first. Phil, you were there. Good games.
Yes, a good game. And I think it needed a good game as well. I was glad that it sort of went down to the wire. There was sort of lots of excitement. There was more fireworks when the teams came out. There was more flames going on as well, and it was a good game. It went down to the last over, which was great. I think that sometimes a low-scoring game can be exciting. I mean, obviously, everyone would have wanted 200 plays, 206s and 4s, but it got down to pressure. It got down to trying to get over the line, which has a sort of a new excitement in itself. And there was a great crowd in. There was a good crowd there who were all enjoying it, and I think that the men's and the women's game as well. And I think everyone went away happy from a good day.
Yeah, the finals can be a damp squib, but we've been saying that in this competition it didn't really get going. But the men's final in particular was pretty exciting. I actually enjoyed watching the bowlers dominate. Sam Cook got 4 for 20. Presumably the crowd would have enjoyed seeing more 4s and 6s, but it was a good final, Mike.
Yeah, good final. Sometimes a bit like the 2019 Men's World Cup final when the pitch just offered a little bit. It made it a bit more exciting. Gleeson got it wrong at the end.
Ooh, yeah.
He got it wrong there. Great shots, but bowling to that short side and he's bowled it leg stump, half volley, flick, then a full toss. Full credit to Gregory. Good atmosphere. I enjoyed Bastille, I have to say.
Yeah. Well, having music at Lord's is quite cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. No, it's good to see two games, in the finals. That were a lot closer. I mean, I said it last year, the women's competition this year has been better than the men's because they've been close games. I don't think there's been, and the games towards the eliminator and the final, because it's a must-win situation and obviously pressure plays a bigger role. There's been better games towards the back end when teams have to win, or you have to win an eliminator, you have to win a final. But let's be honest, the men's game, it's been okay. But the women's game once again has been a better product to watch.
And there was a fantastic moment there. I think it was the 17-year-old lady from the Invincibles struck the winning runs. We got her up in the commentary box, and I've never seen a bigger smile, and there were tears in the eyes. It was wonderful to see, and I think someone asked her, well, did you ever think that when you'd be waking up this morning 17 and knocking off the winning runs to win the 100 for your side, do you think that would happen? And that was a lovely moment.
Yeah, that's nice. But you mentioned the eliminator, Mike. I mean, we probably nearly had the best moment in I was going to say the history of the 100, it's only 2 years old, but in the women's eliminator on Friday with the Brave beating the Rockets, and we had Nat Sivert needing 22 off the last 4 balls, hit 3 sixes in a row, needed 4 off the last. Oh, amazing moment.
Yeah. Well, and I tell you what, that last ball was there to whack.
Yeah. I mean, actually, if she had needed 6 off that last ball, I think she would have got it. It was needing 4 that was the problem, right?
Oh, it was there. It was incredible striking. I mean, 22 off 4, and you get it to needing 4 off the last, and you get one right in the slot. Oh, I put it on. If that had gone to the boundary, that game, they were nowhere near winning that game. And then Nat Sivers suddenly started keeping the. I've just got to. It's only me can do this. Then she gets a nice juicy few balls in the right slot, smacks it over mid wicket, another one over mid wicket, one huge one over long on. And then that last ball, just lost the shape slightly. Probably her eyes lit up again and went, I can't believe my luck.
Well, I think she was interviewed, wasn't she? And she was sort of trying to decide whether to hit it for 6 or hit it along the ground. In the end, she sort of scuffed it into the covers. But if she had needed 6, if it was 24 she needed off the last 4 balls, she may well have got it.
And are the Oval Invincible women's team creating a dynasty? Oh, it's only been 2 years. Never beaten at Lords.
Well, they are invincible.
Going back to the men's final, most of the batters didn't really perform, but spotlight on Alex Hales, obviously, because all the discussion was about the squad that's been picked for the Tour of Pakistan and then the T20 World Cup in Australia. He obviously wasn't picked for that. Rob Key talked about how he had been considered, but obviously that was before a certain Jonny Bairstow went and bust his leg.
Wow, amazing!
First of all, what a bit of luck for Jonny Bairstow. I mean, bad luck to. I think he was on the 3rd tee at Panel Golf Club that he slipped, and I don't know the full story behind it, but it's a huge blow for England. I'm going to say it. I want to know what's happening with Alex Hales, because I think he's been treated unfairly. I really do. I mean, you've got a different management team, you've got a different coach, you've got a different director of cricket, you've got a different captain. What has he done that he can never play for England again? And whatever it may be, surely you can get in a room and shake a few hands and move forward. He is in England's best 10 to 12, at least, T20 experts. You look at his record around the world. He's just an incredible player. You've got no Jonny Bairstow. You haven't picked Jason Roy. I honestly think we need to know more. And if it is that Alex Hales can never play for England again, tell us why.
Yeah, and given that Rob Key has said that he was considered, but that they wanted Bairstow opening the batting, given that Bairstow's now injured, if they now overlook him again, it's going to send quite a message.
And I think
it's unfair on him.
Yeah, and I think that if that is the case, I had it a little bit in my career when the lines of communication were very blurred. When you were made to stand in the corner, and you were made to stand in the corner for sometimes you didn't quite know what, and there might have been a couple of fellas who just didn't fancy it or particularly like you. And that's not fair enough. That's not fair enough. And I agree with Mike. If there is something, someone's got to stick their hand up, as you say, get together in a room and say, listen, mate, that's it. And I think that then that's fair. If it's just about, if it's about skills or attitude or performance, that's fair enough. But if you just don't fancy someone, that's not fair enough. And the bloke needs to be told that. He definitely needs to be told that, because otherwise you wander around going, well, where am I? You're just in limbo for the whole of your career.
If it is that it's the way that he acted in 2017 around the incident in Bristol, that I can kind of get that in teams, but that's a long time ago. People can change. They can become different personalities on the back of something wrong happening to them. I just think we need a little bit more transparency of exactly what has he done, because clearly he's good enough to get in the team, particularly now Bairstow. He's good enough. It's just like, why aren't you picking him then?
Yeah, Mike, I don't know whether you spotted this though as well. I didn't like the sticking plaster around the bottom of his bat. Did you see?
Nah, there was a couple.
Yeah, there was a couple.
Coley Cadmore, he had.
Yeah. It was terrible.
It's a bad look. It's in actual fact, Phil, we've got rid of a few things on this podcast, and we're trying to bring like Sweet Caroline back. It doesn't seem to be travelling that far, but we'll keep going.
Well, 100's over now. We have failed in that campaign.
Yeah, I think having plasters on your back The umpire should be able to give you out. You walk out, you're taking guard, middle stump, please. If you've got plaster on your bat, the umpire should be out. You're out.
Yeah, it's not
Off.
a good look. Not that I ever needed. My bats didn't particularly get very cracked during my career, but I think there are other products that you can wrap around it.
Phil, did you bat with the same bat all the way through your career?
Pretty much so. Yes. It's funny actually. I went through about 7 or 8 bat sponsors. Zenith. I had Zenith, Cali, Simmons, Duncan Fernley. They actually in the end used to pay me not to use their gear.
Oh, you're a mercenary, Phil. You
Don't want to see that man walking out with a.
You go for the biggest small check, don't you?
Exactly.
How about you, Mike? Did you? Your sponsors were GM, weren't they?
Gonna more till I die.
And did you rotate through a whole load of bats, or did you have a favourite and you would play with it until it bust?
No, I had a few. If you get 100 with a bat, you just keep going, don't you? Yeah, just keep going with it.
Ben, the boys used to, when I played, the boys used to take them to bed with them. They used to go into the rooms. No, they did. They used to go into the rooms of Thorpe and Nasser and Ramps and everyone like that, and Robin Smith and these guys. There'd be about 10 lined up in their bedroom, and they'd be talking to them. Yeah. I say, you're coming out for some dinner and a pint like that. He goes, well, no, I've got to talk to my bats. What? And I'd walk in there, they'd be sort of talking to them and feeling them and stroking them. They're very strange batsmen,
Like the US Marines. This is my rifle. There are many like it, but this one is mine.
Exactly.
Well, talking about Jonny Bairstow, obviously England are going to be without him at the Oval for the decider against South Africa. How do we see that one shaping up, Phil?
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a cracking game, isn't it? It's set up beautifully, isn't it? Yeah, Jonny Bairstow will be a miss. As simple as that. I think that, it was obviously a horrific sort of injury. I mean, what a stroke of bad luck that is. But I can assure you that South Africa will be seeing that as a plus. Not meaning to be harsh or anything, but they'll be delighted that the guy who has set alight English Test cricket all summer won't be playing. I think the toss is going to be crucial. I think England perhaps have just got their noses in front, but when you've got a bowling attack like South Africa have got, if they get firing again, you're going to have to watch out. It's going to be fascinating to see how it ends up.
Yeah, and Mike, who's going to replace Bairstow, do we think?
Well, Harry Brook will play. He's a very, very talented player, so he'll get his chance. It's just whether he's, getting a chance at the time where he's not played much cricket.
Yeah.
So he'll be making his debut on the back of particularly no red ball cricket, so it's not going to be as easy if it had played against New Zealand or India, but it's a big blow for England. It's a massive blow. Look at what Bairstow's done in every game, really. Possibly barring Lords, he's just had impact in every Test match this summer. So he's a massive blow. But it gives a chance to Brook, and you just feel England are on a roll. They're playing good cricket. I'll guarantee South Africa won't play 2 spinners. I'll guarantee that Jansen will come back in, and I'll guarantee if they win the toss, they'll bowl first.
Having said that, the Oval's quite good for spin traditionally, isn't it? Phil, you've had quite a lot of success at the Oval.
Absolutely. I loved it.
Not recently. Well, not Phil. Phil hasn't recently. Obviously.
Don't go back 20, 30 years.
I was reading the other day, Phil, you got a wicket with your very first ball bowling for England in England at the Oval. Isn't that right?
That's right. Clayton Lambert bowled a spell of 6 for 3. I managed to get. It was funny actually because Gucci threw me the ball and I was a bit nervous and what have you like that. And we're sitting at the end of the mark, sort of looking round, sort of setting the field. And I could see Clayton Lambert practicing the slog over deep mid-wicket about 6 or 7 times. And I was sort of talking to Gucci and out the corner of my eye, he was just going, whack, whack, and I was going, oh my God, what's going on here? Floated one upside the off stump. He played exactly the same shot he'd been practicing, and thankfully it went straight up in the air. Yeah, but no, it's a wonderful place. It's a wonderful place, the Oval.
Was that the same match in which you got
jumping the Oval?
Great Viv Richards out twice?
Yes, I did. Yes,
twice with one ball.
Yes, that's right. So that was a bit of luck. Yeah, the great Viv Richards. It was his last Test match. I think it was about 50 odd, but I'm still having it. That's still my best wicket, Sir Viv.
Was he caught and stumped, or?
Well, yes, that's right. That's right. Yeah, because the umpire was sort of renowned for being partially deaf, and which isn't great if you're an umpire. So as he nicked it, I went, Alex, stump him because he might not have heard it.
So the Oval's good for spin 20 or 30 years ago. I mean, obviously this week it likely to be. We're into September now. Likely to be overcast, so it might be good for the South African seamers.
Yeah, the last few years it's been generally seam, swing. It's a good pitch. It's a great venue, great facility.
Get some runs, Mike, runs.
Get runs, good bounce, trust the bounce, but it does nibble. You can get periods at the Oval where the ball starts to swing. We saw an incredible spell last year from Jasprit Bumrah. He got reverse swing and he bowled some fierce Yorkers. It's a good. Generally, I mean, it's not. I don't think that the toss makes a massive difference. It's just you know which way these two teams will go, but it's just purely on the quality that you can produce. If you produce quality, you'll win. Simple as that. But both teams will feel the same.
They've got to get some runs in the first innings. Get runs in the first innings. You got every chance.
Yeah, no, let's not leave it to the chase this time. So we're joined on the pod today by Sir Andrew Strauss, former England captain, of course, but also chair of the ECB's Performance Cricket Committee. Andrew, thanks for joining us. You just published your high performance review, currently out for consultation. This was commissioned in the wake of England's 4-0 defeat in the Ashes over the winter. Since then, England had a pretty good summer, beaten New Zealand, the current World Test champions, 3-0, and we got a decider against South Africa. Can you explain to us why you nevertheless think this review is necessary, and how you went about putting it together?
Yeah, well, thanks. I mean, you're right to illustrate. We started talking about this review after the Ashes defeat, and you'll remember just how painful that was and how many people were calling for fundamental change in English cricket, etc., on the back of it. And, often we do that. We react like that when we lose an Ashes series. And by the way, we've done that quite often away from home. But I think once we started looking at this project, I think we started looking at it a bit more broadly and asking some sort of significant questions about just how good have we been? Over the last 40 years, we've been number one in the world in Test cricket for 12 months. And generally, we've been around the sort of fifth best team in the world over a 40-year period. Our white ball cricket prior to 2015 was very poor, but it has improved quite significantly since then. So, look, I think if we're serious and we sort of set ourselves the ambition in this project of trying to get our system to a stage where England can be the best in the world across all formats within 5 years, which is a very ambitious goal. Like no one should underestimate how hard that would be, given what we've been doing over the last 40 years or so. If we want to do that, we need to look at everything we do and say, look, can we do this better? Like, is there a better way of doing it? Can we get an aligned system where everyone's working together better? And then also, I think we need to just understand that the game of cricket is moving very quickly around us. So rise of T20 leagues, players getting offered contracts, maybe 12-month contracts for various franchises around the world, bilateral international cricket being squeezed, and we've seen that with South Africa and Australia, high-profile players retiring from international cricket. So we've got to try and throw all of that in the mix and come up with a set of suggestions that hopefully moves English cricket forward significantly. That's what this project's been about for the last 8 or 9 months or so now, and we're getting to the stage where the rubber is hitting the road and we're putting some proposals in front of people.
Straussy, do you only have a review when things haven't gone well?
The ECB tends to only commission reviews when things aren't going well. I think that's true. I mean, obviously, the England Cricket Department do reviews after every tour or whatever. But look, tough as you will remember how painful that Ashes series was. We got hammered out there, and I think there was a lot of people feeling at the end of that like, enough is enough on this. Like, what is going wrong here? Why can't we perform better away from home? Why can't we produce opening batsmen that at least average 35 or 40? And so, there was a lot of kind of anger. And I think what we've been trying to do with this project is kind of like take that anger to one side and just go, right, let's just do this a bit more sort of methodically. Let's look at what the evidence tells us about what's good in English cricket and what's not so good, and then come up with some suggestions that hopefully move things forward.
And Straussy, thanks for joining the Vaughany Tuffers CC. We are a cricket club, so welcome to the team. Not too sure where, we're no idea where we're all going to be batting at the minute playing. We're a bit of a shambles on selection, but thanks for joining the club.
We need a review. We do need a review, very true, Phil. Let's go. So the Ashes 4-0. England get beaten heavily. Lots of turmoil. Everyone's saying we need change. Just talk us through the project, how it starts, how you go about putting your team together, and then you've used words like suggestions. Who do you suggest your kind of findings to?
That's a good question, Vaughany. So the first thing we did was we kind of looked like, okay, well, what are we trying to achieve here? That idea of what's the ambition, and we realised like we can't just be about red ball cricket. We want to be the best across all formats. And then it's okay. Well, if let's commission some analysis. So we did a load of analysis work to understand where we are relative to that ambition. I thought it was really important in all of this, and I know that we've received a bit of stick from it, but I stand by it 100% to get some people from other sports, just so we can understand how other sports go about doing this sort of stuff, like people that have done it well, the likes of David Brailsford or Kate Baker, who's head of performance at UK Sport, just to say, look, how do other sports do this? And then we've got a sort of core group of both, ECB people and some consultants called the 21st Group who've been helping us with a lot of the sort of background data stuff.
Andrew, can I pause just a second there? Because can you explain what some of those external personalities, some of the suggestions they made that were really useful for you?
Yeah, well, look, I think probably the first thing to say on that is we've got quite a good history in English sport of high performance. And certainly if you look at Olympic sports, the transition that they made from, when was it, 96 in Atlanta when we got one gold to, what we did in 2012 and all that sort of stuff. And what was really clear was this is very doable, but what you need is alignment. So you need a whole system working together. You need to be quite ruthless in where you put your money, and you need really strong leadership. Someone needs to be on this 24 hours a day, every day of the week, making sure that the system's working and you're keeping on top of your players and your coaches and all that sort of stuff. One thing that David Brailsford said that really resonated with me is like, you can have all the knowledge in the world. It's about execution. Like, you just got to do it. It was just learning that, like, how different sports do it, how tennis kind of look at what skills and requirements do you need to identify at a young age to give you the best chance of going on and playing at a top level, how they do it in, Olympic sports. Cycling was obviously an interesting one. We had a really good case study in British curling.
Oh,
so we sort of understood what they've been through. And just, so it was really, I found it quite stimulating. I found it really interesting, and there was a lot for us to learn.
So could you perhaps talk us through some of the main proposals and the focus of the document, really? Because it seems to me, reading it, that there's a real focus on the jump that players make from county to international level. And there's a quote in there about Australian batters averaging virtually the same domestically as they do in their initial test innings, but for England, there's more of a jump up. So the obvious conclusion would be that the standard of county cricket isn't quite good enough. Is that fair? And is a lot of the focus on narrowing that gap?
Yeah, okay. So this is where it's hard to get a load of information into a short space of time. I mean, there's 16 recommendations, but if I sort of just chunk them up, I think a lot of focus is, of course, around the county game, and because that's the contentious one. But I reckon there's sort of 5 or 6 different areas that we're looking at in our recommendations. So the first one is that creating focus and alignment bit, like trying to bring the whole game together. And we've talked about having a performance summit every year for people involved in in professional cricket, so that the England people can talk to the county people, we can share knowledge, all that sort of stuff. Making sure there's someone on the ECB board that's actually got a high performance focus. Like, we don't have that currently. We've talked about making sure there's reward for impact. So counties get rewarded for developing England players, whether it's under 19, whether it's England Lions, whether it's full England players. They should be, in our opinion, rewarded for how well they do on the pitch. At the moment, that doesn't happen. Like, everyone just gets the same amount of money. The third area is creating more overseas opportunities. You know, we all know how hard it is for us to win away from home. We want to create more opportunities for players to play away. We want better pitches, and we've talked about how we might be able to do that with a slightly different point system in the championship, but also introducing mobile ball tracking, which gives us a much better indication of objective information on whether pitches are actually playing well or not. And we talked about contracts, so both England contracts and maybe domestic contracts, around creating more flexibility in there, rewarding players that are playing, you know, all formats of the game, etc. And then the final one, and this is the contentious one, is around best versus best competitions. And, you know, you're absolutely right to highlight. The information says very, very clearly that our players drop off substantially from their domestic performances when they get into the international environment, whether that's seam bowlers, whether that's batsmen, whether it's spinners. We're a long way behind the Indian batters, for instance, when we make our debut, and then we fall back quite a long way. And so what we're trying to say is that we want a county championship, a 4-day competition that is as intense as it can be, as high a standard as it can be, and as closely as possible replicates the demands of international cricket. And so those are the sort of recommendations we're putting to the game. By the way, you know, very open about this. The game has to vote on this. It's their choice what cricket they play. But what we're trying to do is put the facts in front of the game to say, look, if we're serious about England performing well, we need to ask ourselves some difficult questions about, is the domestic game actually working the way we want it to?
Strauss, just a few things. You say you want to create more opportunities for players to play overseas. How's that going to kind of work in the programme? I was interested, you said mobile ball tracking.
Yeah. Well, so, okay.
Is that a new piece of technology?
You know, we're not in the dark ages anymore, Vaughany. Like, the world's moving forward. Like, if you think about Hawkeye, the mobile versions of that, they're being developed at the moment, which allow us to, you know, to understand. It's really good for player ID. Understands how quickly people are bowling, how much movement they're getting. Obviously allows you to understand how well or otherwise the pitch is playing. That's something that's in development at the moment, which hopefully will be ready to be rolled out in the next 12 to 18 months or so. The more overseas opportunities, I think, are Lions programme. So more red ball cricket away from home with the Lions. An annual North versus South fixture, like a season opener, maybe in Abu Dhabi. So those would be the two obvious areas that we can influence. And then, of course, we're still going to be encouraging players to go away. I mean, like probably you did, Vaughany, when we went away and played club cricket in Australia and people go to South Africa. And that, you know, that's brilliant for players to do that. But of course, we also need to be aware that a lot of these players are being picked up to play white ball cricket abroad in the winter as well. So it is a challenge, but we just need to hold our end of the bargain on that and say, look, we want to provide opportunities for players to, especially to play red ball cricket away from home, because they'll have lots of white ball options, I reckon.
Straussy, it's not just about throwing money at it, is it? I mean, you're saying there about rewarding everyone and everyone's got to get this and counties have got to get this. Sometimes that sort of doesn't achieve things, does it?
Yeah, I think you're right, Tuffers. I mean, I think maybe the game is operated too much around, you know, money. I think it's about, you know, that old saying about winning hearts and minds is probably, it's a bit of a cliche, but we just need to get people bought into this. That do we want to do this as a game? That's the question. Do we genuinely want England to do really well across all formats? Do we want to create heroes? You know, you think back to Vaughany's team in 2005 and the impact that had on just not just the game, but the country. Like, are we serious about this? Do we want to do it? Let's do it together. And that's that alignment bit around us saying, okay, well, we've all got a part to play in this, whether it's Brendan McCullum and Ben Stokes versus, you know, the guys running the the second team at Derbyshire. Like everyone's got a role to play in this, and let's do it together. That's my views. I think we can, but at the moment, I don't think that has worked particularly well. Certainly over the last 20 years or so, I don't think there has been that alignment there, if I'm honest.
You always get a cry from the county fans. Those county diehards who are so worried that one or two counties will be lost. They're not going to have as much cricket to watch because there's going to be less cricket. Can you send a message to those fans? And we have thousands listen to this podcast, Andrew. Thousands of the county fans. Can you promise them that they will still have lots of cricket to watch?
Yeah, of course. And I think we're really conscious of, what we're not saying here is, right, we're going to get rid of 10 counties. We're just going to have 8 teams. And, we don't care about the system that's developed over 150 years. That's the last thing we want. What we're saying is we want a smaller first division. The recommendations, the options we put in front of the game are 16 top division. We want probably less championship cricket, but that doesn't mean there's necessarily less first-class cricket, because I think there's an opportunity to play first-class cricket in August during the 100 window. But ultimately, we can't keep everyone happy here. Like, if we are serious about high performance, we've got to make sure that domestic structure is ticking that high performance box. We're raising the standard. We're making it more challenging. We're making it more intense. We're developing spinners. We're asking bowlers to bowl quicker. We're playing on flatter pitches that will force players to develop the skills they need at international cricket. That's what we've got to do here. But there's still going to be loads of cricket. We play more cricket in this country in a shorter season than anyone else in the world by a long way.
And how, just on that, Strauss, how would the season look?
None of us have got a magic wand to make a schedule absolutely perfect, but I think we can do it a lot better. Like, I think the options we put to the game, and by the way, we're still consulting on this, so we don't know exactly where we'll end on it, but is we start the season with a 50-over competition with all our best players playing in it. We then go into a period of championship cricket. We will probably have a period in July where there's a bit of championship and a bit of blast cricket. August will be the 100 with, what we're recommending is some good quality red ball cricket underneath it, either regional cricket or if the counties don't want that, just local derby cricket. And then finally, the September is going to be like the end of the 4-day season. So whether that's playoffs, whether it's finals, all kind of reaching a crescendo in September. What we're also trying to do is not start the season at the beginning of April and end it in October. You know what I mean? Like we need to, that's madness. So we're trying to shorten the season as well and make sure there's opportunities for players to have a bit of a rest and practice alongside just playing.
And Strauss, your job now is to go and sell this to the CEOs, the chairmen of all the counties. From what I'm looking at here, it's not a drastic change. It's not like you're suddenly saying, right, we're only going to have 10 teams playing 4-day cricket. All 18 counties are going to be playing 4-day cricket. That's correct. The blast is going to carry on. That's something that they love, which is fine. There's going to be a 50-over competition, which might be tweaked a little bit to make it a little bit more that must-win game, which, again, is something that's not too drastic. And there'll be quite a lot of 4-day cricket. I don't see what you're proposing, that it's massively drastic. So why would they oppose that?
Well, that's a very good question, Vaughany. I'm hoping that they don't oppose it. I think, look, the truth is there is, of course, whenever you talk to anyone in the game, they always look at it from their own point of view. Like, what does this mean for me? So if a team finds themselves potentially not in the first division of the championship, they're probably not going to like that very much. And then, of course, they're rightly worried about how their members will feel about potentially playing less 4-day cricket or not playing as many championship games. Those are the contentious points. Like, I personally feel exactly like you do, Vaughany, that this is a pragmatic solution to the issues we've got. This is not a kind of revolutionary run because the game's not ready for revolution. Like that, ultimately, revolution's not on the cards here. So, if we found ourselves in a situation where, in a state of paralysis on this, I don't think anyone wins out of that. Everyone can see their place in this. Like, there's no reason why any team can't see themselves going, right, I can be in those top 6 teams in the first division. There's a way of us getting promoted to get there.
What would revolution look like?
Well, I mean, you tell me, but revolution, I'll tell you what the revolution is all our players going off and playing domestic white ball cricket abroad, which, by the way, is not a million miles away. So I think we need to be cognizant of this. Like, the world is moving around us and we can't stick our head in the sands and pretend it isn't. There are loads of domestic franchise tournaments out there, likely to be 1 or 2 in the English summer starting pretty soon. So our players have never had more options. And if the game in this country is not listening to them, and by the way, the players as part of this have said very strongly, we play too much cricket. We don't have enough time to practice and prepare. The schedule's a mess. If we don't listen to them, they're going to start voting with their feet.
So in your conversations with the counties coming up, which are the proposals you're going to be fighting hardest for?
Well, all of them. I think what we really want to hear about from the counties is, what does this actually mean for you? So, if we move to a different domestic structure and we reshape the season, what does it mean for you? And that's not just county chairs, that's county CEOs. What does it mean for you commercially? County directors of cricket, well, is this a better structure? Is this one going to be one that you're going to find it easier to prepare for matches and to do everything you need to do to make sure your team are playing at the highest level it can be? I just asked those questions. We've done a number of consultancy sort of get-togethers already, and so we're starting to get that information back quite clearly now, which is great, because then we can refine things. And if there's really strong feedback that goes that you're barking up the wrong tree here, then we can take another look at things. But it's about understanding that this is about players as much and coaches as much as it is about members and committee members. We need to do what's right for the game here.
And Strauss, you mentioned the players have obviously come forward and said they feel they play too much. Have you had insight from the coaches and the directors of cricket of all the counties?
Yeah, so we've had Marcus North has been on the group all the way through, sort of representing the directors of cricket. So he's had lots of meetings with them. As I said, they've been in the room with these consultancy consultation periods we've had over the last week or so. I think that the message very strongly, by the way, I haven't heard anyone say they're happy with the current schedule. I think everyone feels it's a bit of a dog's dinner. It's a huge amount, like very intense blocks of cricket where you might be playing 8 games in 8 weeks, 8 4-day games in 8 weeks. And then some of our Red Bull players have a big chunk of time where they're not playing at all. And coaches in particular, and the all format players are just on that grind and that treadmill. And of course, if you're on that grind and treadmill, you're not going to be playing at your best. By the way, groundsmen are speaking very loudly as well, saying we're really struggling to produce pitches here. We don't have the time to prepare them properly. And so we need to listen to that as well.
And Strauss, so this is for 2024, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So, I think the message came back very strongly that next year's too early. I think there's a bit of work to be done to get us there. And I think they all say that it's important that the counties know what they're playing for at the start of the season. And so, if it has to be delayed a year or so, that's okay, as long as, in my opinion, we get to the right solution eventually.
So just break. So 2024, we could have a top tier 4-day top 6 teams. Would they come from the teams that finish in the top 6 next year?
Yeah, in all likelihood, yeah.
So that was Andrew Strauss. Lots there to digest. What did you make of it, Mike?
Well, first and foremost, I trust Andrew Strauss.
Yeah, I do.
And I trust his process. I trust people that he would have asked. He's not asking the likes of David Brailsford, Simon Timpson, Dan Ashworth to come in and tell everyone how to bowl leg spin or how to bowl 90 miles an hour. I think it's so important that cricket broadens its horizons and eyes really to what other sports are doing. So I'm absolutely for outside of cricket influence on the future of our game. I also trust that Andrew Strauss will only be doing what he thinks is right for the game to make England a better cricket team. I don't ever think that Andrew Strauss is going to put a group of people together to try and put something in place that's not going to make England better. You only have to look at what he did as a captain. You only have to look at what he does as a director of cricket. And everything that he's spoken about, I honestly, I don't see it being drastic. I don't see him getting rid of 4 counties, which I guess would have been the worry for some. I don't see him playing 6 to 8 4-day games. It's 10 to 13. Probably 13 if you play those games in August, those kind of local derbies. There's a 50-over competition. There's a T20 blast. There's the 100, which is probably the biggest argument I think in cricket at the minute is the 100. There are some in the game that just don't like the 100 and don't think it should be there. But I think the 100 is very, very important for the commerciality of the game and for English cricket to have that standout tournament.
Just on that point, because if you read the report, there's a sort of obvious lacuna. He doesn't actually talk about the 100 much. And if the aim is to ensure that the elite game, England are top in the world at Test, T20, and the 50-over format, does it make sense to be having a domestic competition in a format that no one else plays?
Well, that's a very good argument. And fundamentally, would a 8-team franchise T20 tournament work as well as the 100? Yes, it would. But when they were selling it to broadcasters a few years ago, did the likes of the BBC, Channel 4, Channel 5, ITV want a T20 tournament? Possibly not. It's just a little bit too long for the terrestrial stations. The 100's here to stay. I think we've got to get away from whether the 100's going to stay or not. It's here to stay. It started to come to light in the last few games of the 100. I thought the eliminators were exciting. So that tells you, everything that Andrew Strauss and his team are trying to put together is the best versus the best. And when you get that and you get that real moment of matter, you have to win that game. That's when you start getting, a 120 chase becoming tricky because you can't fail. So I think what they're trying to produce, particularly with that top, and I get there'll be 12 counties that are going to be very, very disappointed that they're not in the top 6, the Premier League of 4-day cricket. They will have an opportunity to get into that, but there will be some counties, and we know, Phil, there's many in the county game that may never get the chance to be in that top 6 because all the best players will start to go to the top 6 teams, and then a couple in that second division, if you like, who they think might get promoted the following year. There will be quite a few counties that might, in this system, go, right, we're just going to focus everything on white ball cricket because we're never going to get into that top 6. So it might, that 12-team second division might end up being a very poor standard.
Yeah, it could then just become like little feeder clubs, couldn't it, to the big clubs, a little bit like the football.
Yeah.
And it not hugely drastic, but Phil, how optimistic are you that he'll be able to get these proposals over the line and get the counties to vote for them?
Well, as we've been discussing, it's not a huge difference. It was very interesting listening to it because, you pick up bits and pieces in the media and what have you. But then when it's actually sort of like laid out and explained to you, like right in front of you, you sit there and go, well, why are we all so hesitant about it? Why are we all so freaked out about it? Why are we all so freaked out about 100? Why are we all so freaked out about it? You know what I mean? And so when it's actually laid to you, and I think that's what Straussy should do. He said that there'll always be these people against it. I don't particularly hear too many of these people. I don't, they're not standing outside grounds with placards. There's a little bit on social media and things like that. I think they're the people that you actually then need to go and talk to, and explain to them.
Yeah, Phil, I think the biggest stat and what people have to realise, when he says in the last 40 years, England have been the number 1 in the world in Test cricket for 12 months. Well, I think Australia have been number 1 for 170 months. Like, you're kind of looking at the difference in terms of what Australia have produced and what England have produced. We've had some wonderful teams. Andrew Strauss was captain of the team that got to number 1.
Absolutely.
Won the Ashes in Australia. So England do produce good cricket teams, but if we want to be the best across all the formats, and we really want to create a system where you've got a 4-day competition where you're seeing 2 or 3 bowlers bowling 88 to 90 miles an hour in every team. And to be a spinner, you've got to rip it. You got to spin it. You got to get some action on the ball. I just don't think we have a system at the minute that is geared towards bowlers bowling 88 to 90 miles an hour, spinners giving it a rip. You generally got spinners in the county game that are that holding bowler who can bat. We don't have spinners that really are ripping the ball. And ultimately, if you're playing on good pitches and you're playing 4-day cricket, you want to produce batters who are getting double hundreds regularly. The days of just getting 100, they're gone. You've got to get doubles. You've got to get monster hundreds. And, I think this is what I like about the programme. As I said, it's nothing drastic. It's nothing radical. It's nothing that I would look at and think, oh, I'm missing out on this. I'm missing out on that. I honestly think in cricket, you've got a group of, I kind of call them activists. I think they're activists who just do. They are. I just think they're pests. They just don't like change. They don't want change. They don't want to see cricket differently. Cricket, as Strauss said, many other people have said, the rest of the world are realising cricket's moved. It's changing. It's not what it used to be. It's a different game. It's almost like a different sport. We have to move with it.
One other thing we need to discuss, the Vaughany Tuffers Cricket Club. We've now had 13 guests. If you include you two, that's 15 international cricketers. As a cricket club, if we're going to have to pick our first 11, we're going to have some tricky selection issues. And I've just been looking through our list of guests, and we've got some issues because we've got 4 or 5 specialist openers, we've got 4 spinners.
Oh, Mike, you could be under.
Yeah,
4 spinners, Phil. So
dear.
Let's be careful. We've only got 2 quicks and no keeper at the moment. Wow. So, Phil, if you want to put the gloves on, that might be your best bet.
Have you seen me field?
I've seen Andrew Strauss keep before.
Yes, I have. He's kept for me, Mike.
Joe Root. No, he's going to get in the team, isn't he, Joe? It's just whether we bat.
Do you reckon? I think you might be right.
I think we'll have him at number 4. It's a tricky one. Look, we're quite ruthless in selection.
Yeah, well, we currently have got just to show where we're really strong. We've got openers. We've got Vaughan MP, Boycott, Trescothic, Graham Smith.
I'm not making. But I'm going to bat. Look, I'm just saying to you now. I'm batting 3. The rest can piss off.
Okay, I actually had you down.
Yeah, it's my team. I'm batting 3. They can piss. I'm batting number 3. I don't care how good they are.
Okay. So at the moment it's Boycott or Smith. Trescothic.
Trescothic's in.
Trescothic's in. You need right hand, left hand, right? And I had Vaughan at 3. Yeah. Oh, I mean, to be discussed.
Yeah.
Spinners. Got the King of Spain. Ravi Ashwin.
Yeah.
Simon Harmer.
We're playing 2 spinners.
Well,
but bear in mind that we do only have 2 other bowlers because we've got Wasim Akram and Trent Bolt.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, we're going to need off spin. Obviously, left arm over.
Yes.
So Ashwin gets in.
Got to be.
Yeah.
Look, Phil, I'm not Phil. Tell him you're in.
I'm in.
You're in, Phil.
Phil, you can put your foot down. You're in. Well, I've got Harmer at 12th man at the moment.
Right.
Yeah, you can tell him that.
Fair enough. And to make things easier, I thought if we make Ravi Shastri coach and Rob Key the team manager.
Yes.
And then I'll be water boy.
Absolutely. Well, you're in, Ben.
Delivering some quality H2O.
Well, or gin and tonic during the game. I always used to have.
Gin and tonic boy. I'll be cocktail waiter. Team cocktail waiter.
Cocktail waiter.
Right, that's about all we have time for this week. We'll be back at the usual time on Wednesday next week when we'll be discussing that last Test match at the Oval and looking back at an extraordinary summer of cricket. In the meantime, the Vaughany Tuffers Cricket Club channel is now packed full of past episodes, including our conversation with Joe Root last week, in which he really opened up about the pressures of captaining the England Test side. A reminder, you can get in touch with us on Twitter or via email. The address is cricketclub@telegraph.co.uk. Thank you for listening to this episode. Make sure to follow to stay up to date. Until next week, goodbye.